make a motion to, may I make a motion to nominate both George and Agnes as co-chair?
Excuse me, Commissioner Chan, this is Lori. I'm sorry to interrupt, but could the advisory council members please turn on their video feed?
Oh, thank you, Lori.
Oops,
Hold on here. I don't know if I can get my camera to work. Stand by.
Okay,
something's wrong with my camera.
we can see your coffee cup, Agnes.
I know. It shifted. I'm not sure what happened.
You're faced by the cup.
I'm sorry, it shifted. There we go.
There you go. There you go. Okay, and there's George. Okay, so Lori, I guess we're compliant with that standard now.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that.
So I guess you were all on audio though, so you heard the suggestion, the nomination that Mr. Fontaine and Ms. Hayashi serve as co-chairs of the advisory council. Would you both be willing to accept that nomination?
What would be the responsibilities?
Essentially, the chair of the meeting will conduct the meeting as outlined in the remainder of the agenda. And going forward on the reapportionment commission's agenda, the various advisory councils from the different islands have an opportunity to provide input. So the chair would, I know many of you, several of you have made a routine of logging onto those meetings anyway. And at that time, when the Chair Mugi Ishii gives the opportunity for the Maui Molokai Lanai Kaho'olawe Advisory Council to share their insights, observations, recommendations, that would be the time to do that. Going forward, really the work of the advisory council is fairly self-directed, actually, to the extent that you all feel that further meetings are required or appropriate, that'd be fine. The process that lies ahead of us calls for the maps that have been prepared by the technical committee to be adopted as proposed maps. They have not yet been adopted as proposed maps by the Reapportionment Commission. They are agendized to be adopted as proposed maps on October 28th. And thereafter, there's a 20-day period where the technical committee will receive additional comments, recommendations, suggestions for amendments, etc. And so the advisory council may want to, convene a meeting during that 20-day period to review the proposed maps further and arrive at any recommendations you might have. For Maui Molokai Lanai, there's really only one map. Yeah, the lion's share of the maps, of course, are on Oahu.
Thank you.
Grant, is this up for discussion? I also wanted to nominate someone.
Oh, certainly.
Oh,
We haven't closed nominations.
oh, thank you. I'd like to nominate Mr. Tony Takitani, having served in the 2011 Reapportionment Commission. I value his experience and his input in our meeting our advisory council.
Thank you, Ms. Hayashi.
I second that.
Thank you,
George,
Mr.
what
Fontaine.
are you? Mr. Stevenson, do you have any objection?
I have no objection and I support that as well.
Did you guys get together before the meeting and talk? It's a violation of sunshine.
Things just happen to work out sometimes.
Yeah, well, I accept reluctantly, but I don't want to spend too much time figuring out the chair.
Okay, so we have a nominations have been accepted, and so just to cross the Ts and dot the Is. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
Oh,
I have a motion to close nominations.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevenson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Great, thank you. So as, correct me if I'm wrong, but as things stand, my understanding is we have one nomination that's been accepted, and is that is for Mr. Takitani to serve as chairman of this advisory council. Is that correct? I take that as an affirmative. With that, if there's no discussion, we'll go ahead and entertain the motion and the vote. All in favor of the nomination and election of Mr. Tony Takitani to the chairmanship of the Maui Molokai Lanai Kaho'olawe Advisory Council, please indicate by raising your hands. Okay, so it's unanimous. With that, Mr. Takitani, I know you know the drill. So the agenda is in front of you, I think.
thank you.
And, Mr. Rosenbrock will be assisting with the presentations. So
How much time do I have for my acceptance speech?
well, you're the chairman.
Take all the time you want.
Okay, our agenda, on our agenda, item Roman number 4 is redistricting website demonstration by the staff. Is this necessary, members? Well, what, is this the 25-minute thing?
I think it's 16 minutes.
Okay. I'll leave it up to you know what, why don't we go ahead and start? Because I keep forgetting there's other people on this call, so I apologize.
I just wanted to add a little bit to what Commissioner Grant said is that there's a 20-day period before the public hearings. And they'll also be taking reviews, suggestions through the public hearing period. So there won't be a decision on adopting the final plan until all the public hearings are done and the technical committee has got together and sifted through all that stuff. So with that, we're going to try to make this work here.
Hi, David, this is Kim. You have the sound off. Yeah.
Commission, but since this is the Maui Advisory Council, we've added some additional maps with more details for Maui. So this is the process, kind of step by step. We received census data, we did reapportionment, we're partway through redistricting. You can see the technical group did propose the plans, and that's what we're going to share with you today. On October 14th, the commission meeting, as we continue through the public hearing process, final maps, and eventually these legislative plans will be used in the 2022 elections. So the census data itself, as we've mentioned before, Census Bureau reports data at a number of different levels. For our purposes, for reapportionment and redistricting, we use data at the census block level, the most detailed level of population data. Here are the actual numbers looking at Maui at the Senate. The 2010 population numbers within each of the census, within each of the Senate districts, and then the 2020 population. And so we can see overall for the Maui Basic Island Unit, an overall increase of 6.51%. We can see each of the Senate districts also grew, but they grew by different amounts, not too surprisingly, I guess. What's interesting is to see where they grew higher than the average and where they grew lower than the average. And if we look at Senate 5, we do see there that it grew from 53,000 to 58,000, a 9.43% increase, or quite a bit above the basic island unit average of 6.51%. And as we scan down, we also Senate 6 was quite a bit lower than that average. It grew, it just grew a bit slower. And Senate 7 was almost right on that same average for the basic island unit. So we look at the absolute number of difference from the ideal target, right? Because the ideal target for redistricting has also grown by 6.51%. So now in 2020, with the existing districts and 2020 population, there's an ideal target of 54,870. What's the difference? Well, this is where we see Senate 5, the one that grew more than average, has 4,037 people.
So I'm sorry for interrupting, but is it my screen
And
that's screwed
likewise,
up,
we
or
can
is
see
it you
Senate
guys'
6
screen?
is 3,826.
My screen is not clear either.
7,
Okay.
Senate 7.
Likewise
is
here.
almost right on.
Okay,
So if we look at those as percentages, we see that Senate 5 is 7.36% above that ideal target. And we see Senate 6 is minus 6.97. And in fact, it's that difference between the highest and the lowest, in this case, plus 7.36 minus 6.97, that is the overall basic island unit deviation, 14.33%. So that was the task before the technical group, was to get that deviation from ideal for the basic island unit lower than 14.33%, lower than 10%, as low as possible. And in fact, the technical group was able to bring it down to 0.85%, which is much less than the 10%, while following the other standards criteria, the redistricting guidelines. So how do they do that? Let's look at that now. For the Senate side, we've seen the population numbers already, and we saw how Senate 5 grew faster than average, Senate 6 slower than average. And in fact, the numbers are almost the same. Senate 5, 4,000 above, Senate 6, almost 4,000 below, which seems like, okay, well, we just need to get some people as counted by the census in their census blocks, get those census blocks assigned. They used to be in Senate 5. They need to be assigned from 5 into 6 to bring up the population of 6 and lower the population of Senate 5. The technical group did use the Hawaii Redistricting Online. They used it at the block level. That's the level we use for redistricting. And they use the redistricting tools to make these moves. I'll show you them in a minute. But just to remind you, this is the application, the Hawaii Redistricting Online, that the technical group used. It's the same application, same data, same tools that is available for the public that's interested in creating their own redistricting plans. So here it is on the left-hand side, the map of just the central area on Maui, since that's where the changes are between 5 and 6. On the left, the current, you can see the deviations from the ideal. Senate 5, 7.36 above, 4,000 people above. Senate 6, 6.97 below, 3,826 below. On the right, you can see the technical group's proposed Senate plan for Maui. And you can see the differences there from an overall island deviation of 14.33 down to 0.85. If we look at each district, look at Senate 5, we can see it went from 4,037 over down to only 257 over. And so how did they do that? We'll show you in a minute. If we also look at Senate 6, look at the numbers, we see it went from minus 3826 to minus 46. And again, how did they do that? We'll show you in a minute. But if you do the math between these two numbers, what you'll actually see is it's the same, right? I mean, 3,780 people were assigned. Basically, they had been assigned to Senate 5. They are now assigned to Senate 6. So let's go see, I put a red box around the area where the changes were made. You can see how the boundary changed. Let's look at that in a little more detail. Within this change, 3,780 were in Senate 5. They're now in Senate 6. Let's look at this in a little more detail. So here you can see the area itself and the census blocks that were changed. The assignment was changed for these census blocks from Senate 5 to Senate 6. So if you added up all those numbers, they would total 3,780 across those 37 blocks that were changed. This is the only change for Maui Senate is right here in this area, and that was able to bring the overall deviation down from 14.33 to 0.85. Now, as you're looking at this map, and you might be looking at these census blocks, and you can see some of them are quite large, over 1,000 people in one census block. And then others, some have 0, 15, 97, various numbers. That's the population count within each block. The shapes of these blocks are also interesting as you look. I want to highlight one in blue here. This block actually contains other blocks inside it, which means basically for redistricting purposes, if we choose that block with 417, we also need to choose the blocks with 92 and 81 and assign them the same to keep everything contiguous. So in this area, there weren't so many challenges like that, but when the technical group talked to the Maui House and certainly on some of the other, like on Oahu, they had to deal with this a lot. But for the purposes here, there are, if you're interested, here are the census blocks surrounding the area. And again, you can see as you move out, if you're trying to get even lower than 0.85, which that's already pretty darn good. But
Dave, can you stop the tape for a minute?
I'm going to expand this a little more. Yeah, there's no.
Okay. I frankly cannot see this at all. I can't read any of it. Where is this? Oh, there you, that helps. Where is this?
This is,
Makai.
No,
So the Waikapu Gardens is at the top of the pink on the, I'm in the left side of the screen in the pink.
Waikapu Gardens is, what is that main street? That's Honoapi'ilani.
yes,
Okay, and then the left, all the way on the left is what? What street is that on the left? Is that Waiko?
on the left is.
Or is that
Hono-
Waiko Heights? Alu.
Kui'ani Drive going up to Alu.
So Alu is the cutoff line? And,
So
and the bottom dotted line is what?
I think it's just the edge of census blocks.
Okay,
So a portion of the dotted line on the bottom is Waiko Road. Up to
Portions of-
Kui'ilani-
Okay.
up to Honoapi'ilani Highway.
okay.
Right? Then on the right hand side of the screen is those subdivisions near Pomaikai Elementary School,
Mm. The-
Legends, and
Oh, it's Kui'ilani. I got you.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not the highway. The top side is the highway. So Kui'ilani,
Maui Parkway. Yeah.
which one is Maui? Oh, Kuikai,
The
Maui
left
Park.
side is the
Kui'ilani.
highway.
Okay, I got this. Okay, I see where this is.
Yeah. So Kuikahi and Maui Parkway change where the LDS church is. Yeah.
So were you saying the dotted line is East Waiko Road, not West Waiko Road?
Correct.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thank you. You can, any other questions, members? Okay, Dave, you can restart it. Sorry.
No,
Not a lot of choices there. So these are the changes, as I mentioned. These are the only changes for the Maui Senate. You can go see, we have interactive maps that do not require a login. You can zoom in, you can see both the Senate and the House. You can zoom in and see specific streets, specific census blocks, if you're just interested in viewing more. And of course, if you are interested in actually using the Hawaii Redistricting online application and trying to further improve and change some more census blocks, the Maui Senate plan is available right now. It's called TG for the technical group. Maui Senate for HRC. It was presented to the full commission on October 14th. So if you're interested, the maps are available in both formats, as an interactive map with no login, or on Redistricting Online if you have a login for that. So what about the House? We've looked at the Senate. The House, the deviation of the current districts with a 2020 population 15.73%. The technical group worked with that. There's more districts, so it's not quite as easy as the Senate, but they were able to bring it down to 4.52%. And I'll show you here how they did it. Here are the actual numbers just to look at the 2010 to 2020. Again, just looking across, you can see every one of the House districts did grow, but just like we saw in the Senate, they grew at different rates. So this is where we see House 8 grew at 11% across those 10 years, which is much higher than the 6.51% for the Maui Basic Island Unit. We see 10 and 11 were below, 9 was above, 12 was actually above, and 13 was below. So not quite as simple a picture as the Senate, but it's the same idea. Census blocks that had been assigned to 8 and 9, where there's above the average, need to get assigned to 10 and 11. Now, as the technical group dove into it at a block level, as we said, everything's done at the block level, you start to see a ripple effect. For the Senate, with just the two Senate districts next to each other, it was kind of a one-for-one swap. But as soon as you get more districts, it just doesn't work that way. You end up with a ripple effect. The changes affect all the surrounding districts. So in the end, they ended up reassigning 3,468 people. And I'll show you here where that was. So it again brought the deviation down. You can see on the left, the current districts with a 2020 population above and below the ideal. On the right-hand side are the new boundaries, and there's quite a few more changes than we saw in the Senate. We can go zoom in a bit in detail to see where were those blocks reassigned in order to better balance the populations, get them closer to the ideal. So here you can see zoomed in a little bit, you can see the lines that have changed, and visually you can see 11, House 11 has grown quite a bit. It actually grew and took part of 10 also. 9 has shrunk quite a bit, and likewise 8 has shrunk. 10 took part of 8 because 10 needed to grow. The census blocks themselves, it gets a little messy when we're looking at this area, but you can see there is a lot of ag land here, and there is a lot of zero population census blocks. So that's where, as you're looking, as the technical group's looking to reassign census blocks to other districts, sometimes they had to move those boundaries quite a ways before they reached any population that they could use in order to better balance. So shaded in kind of this light pinkish color are the actual blocks that were changed. I'm going to turn off the numbers so you can see it a little bit better. So these are the 119 census blocks whose assignments were changed. Some of them from 8 to 10, some of them from a variety of different changes. And that's where it's way more detailed than we have time to get into in this presentation. But these are the 119 blocks that were changed, and you see kind of that ripple effect. There was even some change between 8 and 9 in order to bring all the different districts into balance. So again, you can see more details in the interactive map, no login required. The Senate is there, which is on the screen here, but there are also tabs where you can zoom in and look at the changes in the House boundary. And again, you can zoom in greater detail even than I've shown you in this presentation and look at specific streets and specific census blocks. And of course, if you do actually want to use the Wire Districting online application to try and improve on that, the technical group's proposed plan is available as a template plan that you could open and start making further changes, trying to improve it even more. So the commission will be meeting on the 28th. And at that point, assuming they do accept the technical group's proposals, these will become the official proposed plans for Maui House and Maui Senate. The names will change to reflect that in the redistricting online. It'd be exactly the same plans that we've been looking at here. So again, a review of the step-by-step. Technical group has proposed legislative plans on the 14th. That's what we just shared with you. The commission will be meeting on the 28th to adopt those legislative plans. That starts the waiting period, the 20-day waiting period. At that point, we'll begin public hearings. There's a tentative schedule right now. They're still being confirmed, but right now, this is what we're looking at in terms of public hearings. And I've highlighted the ones for the Maui Basic Island Unit. You can see there'll be 2 of them on Maui itself. Now, these will probably be Zoom, but each one will focus on changes for that area. December 2nd will be Molokai and December 6th on Lanai. So those are the public hearings. We've gone over the changes that the technical group has proposed for Maui House and Senate. At this point, we'll stop the presentation and take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know if, David, if you have received any proposals for other proposals for Maui from the public through testimony or anything.
I think we've had accounts opened from Maui, no plan submitted. And no testimony so far, yeah.
I have a question. The realignment on District 11, so does that move North Kihei back to District 11 and then only now Malaya is in District 10? I couldn't really see the detail there on that.
Let me see if I can find the slide deck.
Because it really makes sense that North Kihei just be part of District 11. It's crazy that it was part of 10 all this time.
George, just to confirm, that is what they did.
Okay.
But David will show you the map.
Okay. I couldn't tell. But that's okay. I don't want to waste a lot of time with him and having to go back to the deck. So we can move on if you need to, so we don't waste time. I take your word, Grant, that it's there.
You know, for the people from Maui, it might be easier if we talk about the areas. You know, like so basically, if I'm understanding this correct, Wailuku Kaulu is too big, and West Maui and South Maui were too small. And so what you basically did is 8 gave up to 10, and 11 acquired whom? What areas?
11 took part of 10. North Kihei.
They took North Kihei. Okay. 11 took North Kihei. And then West Maui, Malaya took Waikapu.
10 took part of 8, yes.
Okay.
And then
And,
to balance it out, 8 took part of 9. 8 took Sand Hills Estates.
hmm. You know, when I look at the statute and it requires there's these six sort of rules that we're supposed to apply. Are they in any? There's not. It's not weighted, is it? Do we have an AG on this call?
I was on.
I'm sorry, Grant, you were muted.
Lori Tanigawa is on. She's the AG.
Oh, okay. So Laura, when you look at the HRS and they have these 6 points about, you know, political parties and contiguous and social economic interests, are these aren't weighted? They're equal to be considered equally.
Perhaps David could answer that for now, but my understanding is they're not weighted, but if you would like to have further discussions about that, we could move into executive session.
Why is that an executive session question?
Well, if you're going to be asking me questions about some of the legal requirements, would be covered by attorney-client privilege. And in order not to waive that, we should move into executive session. But with respect to your question about weighting, and David can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that there's any weighting associated with any of the.
I accept that. David, you concur?
There's no waiting. We have to take all of them into account. And we
Okay.
also have to take into account where practicable.
Yeah.
That's the 7th one. We never.
That's the
talked.
one, huh?
Well, I mean, we're trying to get down to one man, one vote. So I mean,
Right. I get it.
that's what we start looking at. And then, you know, we start.
I totally get it. And that's the difficulty of this exercise. And the deviation allowed is 10.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, moving to at this point, Roman numeral 5 says review and discussion of proposed legislative redistricting plans by the Technical Committee Interaction Group. Who is the Technical Committee Interaction Group? I apologize. Is that you, David?
No. Diane and I was looking to see.
Diane, Charlotte, Kevin, and
Dylan.
Dylan. Yes.
And Kevin Rathbun.
Okay. Are they all on?
Diane and Kevin are on.
I don't see.
Diane's
Charles.
on and Kevin on. Okay. Diane and Kevin, you guys have anything you want to say?
No, but we want to hear from you folks, what you think about the way the plans are drawn. for
Okay.
Maui.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, Tony, that what Diane said is this plan is only as good as we give it without input. So if
Gotcha.
your group can give us the input, we can look at anything that comes up, and especially during that 20-day period. That's where you have the opportunity to reach out to folks that may be affected by this and give us that feedback so we can go back and look at it.
Got you. Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate that. You know, if the members, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of skip this section for presently and see if there's any public testimony out there. If that's okay. Is that okay with the members? Anybody opposed? Okay, I'm going to open it up for a public testimony now. I don't know who's running this Zoom meeting, but can you assist me with this? You know what I'll do? I'll go down the list here. I see some names that are Like Bart, are you there still?
I am here.
How are you, Bart? Are you
I'm
there for
handsome.
the purposes of just showing us how beautiful you look, or are we gonna have some testimony from you?
Actually, if I go to live video, you'll see I'm not as handsome as I look in the picture. So this is more like when you knew me.
Oh,
You know.
okay. Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
let's see.
you got old. Oh,
Am I there?
yes.
With my
you look
COVID
great.
hairdo.
You look wonderful.
Okay. So I'm not
You
here
got
to
3 minutes, by
busybody
the way,
tell.
Bart.
I got 10 minutes. Okay, sounds good.
3 minutes.
Starting now. Okay, I'll be quick. First off, I'm not here as a Honolulu person to tell you guys how to draw your districts, okay? I spent 2 years of my life, I think, on Maui and Molokai, but I'm nostalgic and that probably interferes with my good judgment. So I'll leave that to you guys to make those mistakes. What I do want to raise concerns about is I think the islands of, or the county of Maui and the county of the Big Island in particular, have to have concerns about the extraction of the military. Because I think that, Tony, you remember, in fact, it seemed like sometimes 10 years ago, you and I were alone in the room in saying that they had to extract the non-resident military vigorously. This time around, I think it's obvious there's an under extraction of the military going on. I think there are about 25 to 30,000 non-resident military who have been left in the permanent resident population. And every time I raise this, they get uncomfortable and they don't want to talk about it and they avoid it. But I can send you guys charts that show that the extraction this time, even though the military population is barely any smaller than last time, and last time they extracted 90-something% of the known military total population, this time they're only extracting 64% of the known military population. And nobody has provided a good explanation. It's not that 32 or 30-something% of the military have suddenly decided to become legal residents of Hawaii. I think the problem is that the data they're getting from the military is incomplete. Now, in practical terms, it's unlikely that an accurate count would result in the shifting of a seat to another county, not this cycle. The numbers are very close, but I can't claim that they would because I don't have accurate numbers. But 10 years from now, the population trends are that both Maui and the Big Island will have population where they deserve more legislative seats. So you got to get into the record now. If you have skepticism, and I think you should look into the extraction and register and plant in the record your skepticism so that it doesn't go unchallenged. So 10 years from now, it won't be that they establish a precedent this time that leads to an under extraction of non-resident military 10 years from now and keeps you guys from getting an extra seat. And I can be reached at my email, by the way, bedame, all one word, @gmail.com.
Appreciate it, Bart.
BEDAME @gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do have some recollections of those discussions. And unfortunately, you know, I think if these numbers aren't correct, and if they have not extracted sufficient amounts of military, it'll be, once again, someone will challenge it, and this time they'll have to redo it. And so that'll, again, create a problem. So I appreciate your comments.
Okay, Tony, if I can tell you, I don't think that the extraction, a more accurate extraction would result in a shifting of a legislative seat.
I appreciate
so I think Oahu will still have 35 and the Big Island will have however many. So that wouldn't have to challenge the plans and disrupt the implementation of the plans.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Richard, is Richard M public or is Richard M? Would you like to testify? Ren Fukuda? Sandy Ma?
Thank you, Chair.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Chair, and members of the Advisory Council. My name is Sandy Ma, and I'm with Common Cause Hawaii. I did get a note from someone on Maui who wanted to say that the inclusion of Spence Waikapu subdivision and the Legends Maui Lani subdivision with South Maui is a little strange. Why not just keep Waikapu together and make it part of South Maui and leave Maui Lani with Kahului? So
Okay,
that was the comment.
is that it?
Yes, thank you for allowing Common Cause to share the concern of a community member on Maui.
Why would you want to stick Waikapu with Kie?
That was the information that was relayed to me that I thought I'd share with you. I don't have any other.
Oh, okay.
Other than that.
I apologize. Thank you,
No,
Sandy.
just relaying the information that I got. I could ask and have that person directly share it with this advisory
Okay, I
council.
appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anybody else that I'm going off of what I can find here, but if there's anybody else from the public that'd like to participate with some testimony, now is the time. Okay, so let's step back to Roman numeral 5. Will the members of the committee like to comment on any of this at this point? Any of the proposed legislative redistricting plan?
Tony, I'd like to make a couple of comments if I could.
George, I love your long hair.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my COVID look.
Yeah, looks great. I mean, I almost didn't recognize you.
I'm on a very positive note. I'm so happy to see the North Kihei being combined with South Maui, because it really comes down to a question of representation. And I know that the representative in Lahaina, always struggled because it's so far from Lahaina to come to North Kihei, and it seems to be so kind of displaced from what the reality of that district is within Lahaina. So I'm pleased to see that. And I think if there was any waiting to go on, I think, the physical geographic aspect of making sure that we have representation that's inclusive of all communities, and communities aren't split in half as much as possible, so that decisions that are being made and the representation that's being made at the state government or the state capital are included of like minds of what the public are and who they elect as their officials. So that was just my comment. It would have been nice to have Balaya part of Kihei as well too, but at least getting North Kihei is a huge, huge plus for South Maui for sure. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Anyone else? Dr. Stevenson?
Thank you. Being over here on Molokai and our friends and neighbors over on Lanai, it's difficult for us to feel that we have equal representation because we are grouped in with some of the other districts on Maui. We know everybody's doing their best, but I don't know if there's anything that can be done technically to address that challenge because we are separated on separate islands. I don't think that there is, or I'm not aware of anything that is, but I know everybody's doing their best. So appreciate all the work the technical committee and the reapportionment commission is doing. So thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. I oftentimes, and I feel your pain because otherwise we'd have about 400 members of the state house and on the one man, one vote rule. So based on Lanai, and it'd be kind of difficult, but I totally get it. But you do have a senator. So I think that's a step in the, there's some that would argue that you're overrepresented right now.
Well, we've got a great senator who she served us very well in District 13 as a representative, and now our state senator, and that does help us in our community. Yeah. And I know that she advocates for her entire district as well, not just the island of Molokai. So everyone who's working on behalf of all of us, we do appreciate it, and they're doing a good job.
I didn't. We're supposed to keep this thing not political, so I only said that because people in Honolulu will argue that you're overrepresented. So I just thought I'd throw that out.
I can
Uh,
appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay. Agnes, anything?
Yeah, I just like to say that given the, the growth in the different districts, I feel that the technical committee did a good job trying to address these challenges, and following the process of the reapportionment and redistricting steps that they had to follow. And given that, we have had, given that we're starting the process for public hearing and to move this process forward, I think the plan that the technical committee is proposing is a good one so that we can, like I said, move the process forward. And I would support what the technical committee is providing for the purposes of entering into public hearing and getting more public comments. It's a good starting point, I believe. So I support the technical committee's proposed redistricting plans.
Yeah. Thank you, Agnes. I'm not sure how I want to comment at this point because I know the difficulty that the commission faces. And I struggle with the definition of socioeconomic interest because Waikapu could not be more different contiguously from West Maui or South Maui for that matter. And parts of just in front of Waikapu, the Spencer homes, I think that Ms. Ma mentioned, were quite, it just doesn't match. And until I think if I can come up with a better plan, I will try. I think it'd be smarter to move parts of Kula to South Maui, and grab some of Kahului for Paia for upcountry. But I'm not sure if it's even possible. But I think that's why to understand what the deviation can be, I think that's why you're allowed a deviation. So for our purposes, I don't have a better plan today. If the committee would like to meet somehow tomorrow, if you guys could take another look at this. Oh, we probably don't have enough time to do it though, yeah? We gotta do notice and everything. Somebody answer that question, please, David?
Yeah, you need a 6-day notice.
6-day notice, so we couldn't meet tomorrow anyway. So for our purposes today, I guess we say, we'll go ahead and, I don't think, it's not necessary that we ratify anything or move it forward, is it?
Are you asking me?
Yes, or somebody.
No, yeah, no, it's
Okay.
not necessary. It's up to you folks.
I think unless it's if our committee insists, I think we hold off on any kind of ratification until, this is our first meeting. So I really think we should look at this a little bit more carefully and study some of the ramifications and take a look at it ourselves and see if there's some smaller things we can do. And I know, again, I really appreciate the difficulty of the issue with deviation. But I think there's room for more, to make a little bit more sense of some of the contiguous issues and the socioeconomic standings of the communities.
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
Yes.
On Thursday at noon, the commission meets, and
Yes.
I would encourage any and all of you to attend the commission meeting and testify as, Ms. Hayashi just did, encouraging us to adopt the plan so that, and that doesn't mean that's it. That just allows us to then have the public hearings, after the 20-day waiting period, to have the public hearings so that we can accept further testimony and critique of like things that you're saying of, how can we make certain areas more contiguous or something make more sense than it does presently. So I would really encourage, your council members to attend on Thursday so that the commission, it goes on record that we should adopt the plan and move forward.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks, Dan. And I think commissioners, advisory members, you all got the notice for Thursday, I believe. Anyone didn't get it? Okay, I'll take that as we all have it.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
just to provide a little bit of information for the council members, to whatever extent you folks have opinions or feedback concerning the concept of canoe districts, it's important that the record actually reflect the proposition that those are canoe districts as between the basic island units are not attractive to us neighbor island folks. You all will recall that there were occasions where we shared a district with, a big island community or even a Kauai community during some periods. And actually the 10% deviation for Hawaii is only as high as that because we've accommodated for not having canoe districts. But the assumption is not that we ought not have canoe districts. The assumption is that we ought chop the state up into equal population blocks, right? So it's important that the record establish that it's not attractive to us, basically.
Good.
So when you folks share your thoughts at the commission meeting, please think about that. And if you truly have opinions concerning that idea, please do share at the commission meeting.
Does anyone disagree with what Grant just said? I don't think so. So I would suggest that is somebody taking notes from today?
I think this is recorded.
This is recorded, okay. So I would suggest that Grant's statements be incorporated as that of the advisory council, unless there's an objection.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I don't have an objection, just a question of clarification. So is it the case that Molokai and Lanai are not considered part of a canoe district because we are part of the basic island unit of Maui? Is that why we're not considered a canoe district?
Part of Maui County, because we're Maui County. I don't know if you recall, but in the olden days, 25 years ago, Kalani English represented Molokai, Lanai, Hana, and Kauai. It was pretty odd. Yeah. So it was just very odd. And that's what we're really trying to avoid. And so there's been some discussion in the past about hooking up portions of the Big Island with Maui. It just doesn't run. It doesn't make sense. But for the purposes of Maui County, the populations on Molokai and Lanai are such that we cannot help it. We got to do it that way. So.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question.
Agnes, go ahead.
I just wanted to share that I'm a little confused here. As the Maui Island or Maui Molokai Lanai Advisory Council, my understanding from listening to the
okay, we represent
my apologies, Kaʻolawi also, but my understanding from the past reapportionment commission meetings, and I also listened in on the Kauai Niihau Island Advisory Council meeting that was held on October 21st. But it was my understanding that as an advisory council meeting before the reapportionment commission meeting, the next meeting, which is on the 28th, that we might want to take this opportunity to more cohesively indicate some feeling of support or non-support. I recognize that we haven't had the opportunity to review the maps that are being proposed by the technical committee in detail, but I thought that we would want to at least take the position of supporting it so that they can take it before into public hearing, just as a island advisory saying that we support their work, for the purpose of taking it into public hearing. Not necessarily that we agree in totality with their plan, but that we support their work to move it forward into public hearing. I think that was my my understanding of what we may want to do as an advisory council, having met before the reapportionment commission meeting, where they will be acting on whether they proceed with the proposed plans. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying, but I absolutely don't think it's necessary that we do that.
Oh, okay.
I think they're going to take it to public hearings no matter what. And I can be corrected if I'm wrong. AG's office am I wrong?
No,
Laurie?
will need to be a vote. This is Lori Tunningoff's
Yeah.
office. There will need to be a vote by the commission. It doesn't automatically go to public hearing.
There needs a vote. We need a vote that says, please send the plan to
No,
public hearing.
I'm sorry. The reapportionment commission will need to vote.
Yeah, they'll vote,
for
not us.
the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Not the advisory.
So we
council.
don't need to vote on anything today. We don't need to show moral support to them by voting on anything to go forward. They'll go forward anyway.
Oh.
In all likelihood. Is that correct, Laurie?
Whether or not you provide feedback and the nature of that feedback, that's a decision for this advisory council.
Yeah.
But I believe that's the intent, is for the advisory council to provide feedback to the commission prior to its vote.
Yeah. So it's not a necessity.
Well,
go ahead, Agnes.
For purposes of, I guess, taking a position, and then we can see where this goes. May I make a motion? And then we can see, okay, I'd like to make a motion that the Maui Island Advisory support the proposal presented by the Technical Mapping Committee. We support their work so that it may go forward for public hearing.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion dies for lack of a second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
I have another.
Yes. Go ahead.
I wanted to follow up with what Commissioner Grant was speaking about the canoe districts, and maybe formalizing our position as the Island Advisory Council for Maui, Molokai, Lanai, and Kahalawe by actually going forward with a motion that we support the commission in their formal position to not support canoe districts for in their plans.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? And I think the Attorney General can clean it up a little bit for us.
Thank you.
Mr. Fontaine, Mr. Stevenson, any second? Okay, motion fails again, lack of second. I think statutorily, if I'm not mistaken, canoe districts are frowned upon. Isn't that correct, Grant?
No, I'm not sure that's the case.
It's someplace. I've read it.
Yeah, the commission actually had to affirmatively adopt a standard for the technical committee to work with that included sort of a preference against utilizing canoe districts.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's statutory.
In your discussions, Grant, has it been coming up?
In our discussions, no, it has not been coming up. I think it's fairly well accepted amongst people, like, for instance, who live in Hawaii, that that's not a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
But it's just that in the context of, potential Supreme Court challenges or other questions that may arise in terms of whether our practice here in the islands is appropriate or not. that's why we want to elicit this sort of testimony, because we're unique in the 50 states, right? That we sort of don't cut everybody up into nice neat blocks.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on one.
Chair,
Yes.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'd like to, I'm not, I thought I was hearing from the rest of the members that we do not support canoe districts. And so I was, moving ahead so that we could formalize our position and I'm just curious from the other members, why we wouldn't want to.
Let me deal with it, Agnes.
Okay.
Mr. Stevenson, you understand what the request was, Agnes's motion was? Or George? Was it clear?
I do understand it was clear.
Yes.
So she was just trying to, I think what she was trying to do basically was put us, the four of us, on record as opposing canoe districts. We accepted Grant's statement as ours, but I think she formally was trying to get us to, as a foursome, to go ahead and speak our, put a formal motion forward.
I think for me, Tony, it's just our first meeting, and I'd like to get the process to kind of move along further before we start doing that. That's the reason why. I mean, Agnes, I think your proposals are great, and I would support that. But I think at this point, I think we have to just let the process kind of continue on. That's my opinion, and that's the reason why I didn't vote or second the motion, because it's our first meeting. Let's let this play out.
Appreciate it. Okay.
And I would like to add it. I feel the same way that they are well-intentioned. They're good motions, but I would like to put some more thoughtful effort into considering those before making a decision on that at this time.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob. Okay. Are there any further discussion on anything today, or any new business, or nothing? Top story?
Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Hayashi, again, I would encourage you to, if you can't attend the commission meeting on Thursday, submit written comment, because all of that will go into the record. And I think it's important for the record to, to reflect the things you brought up in the two motions, but especially the one about canoe districts.
Okay. Okay. There being no further business, I would like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Especially our visitors. We really appreciate it. Good to see y'all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, folks.
Bye-bye.